Welcome to the Beyond Belief series, where we're taking a soulful look at the Bible. Here we explore our divine existence and get real about the conversations we were once afraid to have. This is esoteric insight, truth telling, and honest self investigation. We're sharing how old fear based stories have sparked an empowered shift in our awareness. It's going to be fun, y'all. It's live. It's safe to be here because we are definitely going beyond belief. You can find us live on YouTube Sundays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Be sure to follow the show, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation. Leave us a kind rating or a comment if this speaks to your soul. All right, family, let's get into it. Welcome to the show. All right, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much. Hey, listen, I'm being transparent. I don't
Okay.
understand all of this technology. I'm just learning it, and I'm just thankful that I don't give up on myself. So, welcome back to the Beyond Belief series, and thank you. How you doing, Devette? I haven't seen you
Good, Deb.
since last week.
I, I'm really good. And you know what? I want to say this. Thank
Yeah.
you for being your authentic self and letting people see beyond the veil. Uh,
Yeah,
it's just having that whole honest way of living and thinking about all things. So
I appreciate that. I do.
yeah, a way to
Yeah,
way to be your own cheerleader.
yeah, I can only be authentic. I'm like, geez, man, I have been setting up. I have switched from StreamYard to Riverside streaming, and I really do love Riverside. I'm not being paid anything to say good things about Riverside, but
Hmm.
Riverside is going to work out for me better. So I have switched after using StreamYard for over a year. So I'm just kind of getting used to it and playing around. But all right, so I'm excited
Yeah.
about digging into this conversation today. And the reason why is because I found a Bible in my house, and on the front of the Bible it says think. And it's it says that it's a remix. And the author is Peterson, and it says the message. And I found this Bible because you're telling the stories about Job and you're talking about Job. And I really have no recollection of these stories. So I thought to myself, geez, at least I need to freshen up here. So I pulled the Bible out and it falls open to Eliphaz attacks Job the third time. And it was all about what you were talking about. And so I was like, wait, this is the name that she says. How I can't make it up. I can't make this up that the book
Right.
fell open to this. So I just want to recap. Like from last week, you were just talking about Job's internal struggles through
Hmm.
the lens of these like so-called friends, right?
Right.
But the so-called friends are our internal voices. Is that correct?
Yes, it's different states of consciousness that that's our internal reflection on the outside. It's just different states of consciousness, different ways of
Right.
thinking about this. I mean, so yes, his friends represents his different thoughts about himself, and his different ways of beating up on himself. Honestly, because that's
Yes.
what the friends were doing. They thought that they were being helpful. I mean, we really think our negative thoughts are being helpful when we can continue to challenge ourselves or find different ways to pick ourselves apart just to see what we need to see about the situation, all the while not understanding that those negative words and those negative thoughts are coming from us. That's what his
Right.
friends represent.
Coming from self.
Right.
So that, yeah, and I got that last week. So that think about a time, I'm thinking about times where I have been, all three of the friends that are talking to
Hmm.
Job to myself, trying to either control the situation
Yep.
either trying to make sense of it, like make it logical, or either I'm trying to reason with God. Like this pain is so much, like I'm trying to reason my way through this thing. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've thought about that. I've been reflecting on how I show up for myself through those internal voices. And
Right.
um so yeah, I had to sit with that over the week.
And it's
And
a
I
lot to sit with because, like, you can come in to a situation and just be one of the friends. The most judgmental of the friends, I think, was Billadad. Or no, Zophar was a real tough, no frills. Listen, I know you did something wrong, and you just need to own up to it, kind of. Uh,
mm,
but you can come into a situation and be either of those friends or all three of them, all three of those thoughts, school of thoughts when it comes to looking at yourself in a situation
mhm,
externally, because these friends only represent his internal spirit or his internal voices that are talking to him. And I don't want it to seem like it's a some mental health kind of story, which, hey, all
well,
things
it's a
are,
battle now. Well, I'm
but it's
just
a boss
saying.
battle.
Yeah, that battle can make you feel like you're crazy. I mean, if you want to use that word, I'm using it very loosely, but having those in, I know with speaking for myself,
Hmm.
I have had those internal battles with myself, and it
Oh God, yes.
actually feels like a battle. So,
Hmm.
and it can make you feel like you are losing a grip, on what's real. So, yeah, I mean, we can't make it seem like it's mental health. You beating up on yourself is we don't want to call that normal. I don't want to normalize that type of behavior. So,
Yeah, no, it isn't. It isn't a productive behavior. It is quite
mhm,
normal. Most people beat up on themselves, but it isn't productive in the sense that if you understand your responsibility, if you understand that you have control over your words and thoughts, because if everything comes through the thought. And when you can change those thoughts about yourself, your words begin to line up with what you truly believe of yourself. If you look at a scale and you have 50% that you believe in yourself and 50% that you do not believe in yourself, which one is going to manifest? Which one is going to show up in your existence? It's the one that you give the most attention to, which the most attention is really within that 1%, because 51% then tilts the scale to what you believe about yourself.
and
And
that's
that's what
why.
you end up manifesting, you know?
Right, that's absolutely right. And so if that type of behavior to beat up on ourselves is quite normal, then we need to change. I know I can. That's not a normal behavior. That's not something that I want to be normal, right? I want to
Yeah,
change what's normal for me. So I don't want that to be something that I do all the time. If I start to beat up on myself, I want to check myself immediately because it doesn't feel good. Um,
it doesn't.
and it's
And
like you said, it's
it
not
isn't productive.
productive.
Hmm.
So, all
Yeah.
right. So you are going to be going into what? I tell you, whenever the book fell open to Job and hearing the attacks from his friends, I felt so much compassion for Job, and I felt a connection to Job because Job replied after what's his name? Eliphaz did the third attack. Job was like, I'm not letting up. I'm standing my ground. I have not done anything wrong. Like, I can see if I'm out here in the world hurting people, if I'm out here in the world, hurting children or elderly, then you would have some justifiable cause for me going through all of this. And I just love that he was like in his own defense, like, no, I'm not letting up. Why is this happening to me? You know what I mean?
Right. Job was, he was 10 toes down in his stance about himself. Wait a minute, hold on. I know what I am, and I know what I've been, and I know what I have
Yes.
done. And this isn't a representative, this isn't representative of what I feel about myself.
Hmm.
However, Job did have some limiting beliefs about himself. And
Of
those limiting
course.
beliefs about himself is what produced the situation. Going in and praying for fear, before fear, you're asking for fear. So
Explain that.
in the beginning, Job would often pray, "Hey, God, here's a sacrifice. If my children have sinned, if transition, a transactional
Job,
word
so Job was talking about sins that hadn't even been committed.
hadn't
So
even
he
been
was
committed."
he was like predictive praying to me. You're predicting, what's going to happen.
Right. Well, he was asking, for these things not to happen. But when you ask for things not to happen, you're asking for
For
things to
things to
happen
happen. Because you're
uh,
focusing on those
because you are
things.
focusing on the things that you feel could happen.
That's important for people to hear that. It's very important for people to understand that the prayers that we hold and the prayers that we send up, it matters what we say and what we pay attention to. So that's really important, because if something is in my life, if I am creating more of something that I don't want,
Hmm.
then I need to pay attention to what like think about what I'm thinking about. Before
Absolutely.
I go to the throne with a prayer, I need to, reassess my thoughts. That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely. So Job's story in this part of the esoteric journey, is talking about his limiting beliefs that he has for himself. Those, you know, and uh, can we just talk about our own private Jobs? Can we talk about our own limiting beliefs that we have prayed for? You know, God,
Yeah.
if you can just get me through this, if you
Yes.
can,
If
first
you
of
could
all,
just give me this money, if you could just get me through this bill or pay this last bill or give me this or get me through school, or if you could just get me through this job, if you could just get me this job this last time, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be,
yeah,
yeah, or and not
yes,
even believing that you don't even need to do that for the job.
right. It is those limiting beliefs that keeps our prayers very limiting
Very.
and real
Mhm.
focus and on survival. And
Mm.
really, if we look deeper enough in the Job's story, it's a story of your soul. At the
Mhm.
beginning, Job is talking about, Job has a righteous life. That is the law of oneness with Job. Job's Remember, everybody in the story is you. So this is your soul. Job's soul is in a place of peace, harmony, and oneness with his creator. And then there was a shift. And the shift was, if we're looking at it from his soul standpoint, he came into the earth realm. And when he came into the earth realm, situations arise. And those situations that arise um, are situations that Job now has to work through. That's your soul's journey into the earth. If we just take it as situational and looking at the situation esoterically, then we begin to see that Job's words really did shape his reality. I mean, Job is a perfect book also as of alchemy, because it's taking a bad situation and having this horrible situation happen to you, and you're going through every step and stage of this horrible situation until you get to the internal door and you walk in and have this dialogue with your divine self.
Mhm.
And your divine self is God in you. I love that.
I
You
love
know,
that too.
yeah.
I love that too. I
It,
love that too.
it is your divine God self. It is your I love the way Reverend Ike used to say it, God in me. I love that.
Yes.
God in me. And so that whole, if you're looking at it from that standpoint, then you understand that this story is about Job truly going internally inside himself and having a hard conversation about things that he believed to be true, but limiting, you
Mm.
know?
So is this the God conversation that you talking
This
about today?
This is the God conversation. He gets to this door, and a friend actually brings him even further in, and that friend's name,
Elihu.
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 Yes, Elihu. And
Yes,
and and
he's going
Elihu,
in.
yes, he represents the spirit. He
Mm.
represents that friend that comes through after you have spoken to all the other opinionated friends in your life, and they have given you their opinion, and he comes and he says, "Wait a minute, Devette. Let's look at it from a different
From a different
aspect.
point of view. Yes.
hmm
That's what I
Let's
got from it.
let's look at it from there is nothing that you supplied yourself, but you are the beneficiary of all that is. And you are saying these things about the creator that
Yeah.
isn't true. You're
True.
saying
Yeah.
these things out of pain and hurt. And having a different understanding about yourself. That's not how God sees you. And he brings him to that door and where
Mm.
God, the Lord, can have this conversation with him. And Job and God had they began this conversation. And it begins with a series of questions from God. Can you? Can you tell me where? Do you know how this was? You're like, ooh, no. And
Yes,
when
Job was like, I am ready to listen. Yeah, he said, I will listen now. I'm ready to listen when God, because I thought about a situation that I was in. It's whenever I had the accident. I was thrown off of a four-wheeler over in Dubai, and when I flew back, my life had changed, and I had a terrible traumatic brain injury.
yes, you did.
And I remember sitting on the porch, and I was just like, I mean, I had been asking God, like, why would you do this to me? I literally was blaming God. Why would you allow this to happen? This is my brain. I couldn't remember. I couldn't, see in the dark. I mean, in the light. I had to, I was light sensitive and noise sensitive. And so it was always in the dark. And I just remember sitting on the porch crying, looking up to God, saying, like, why would you do this to me? This is my brain. This is important for me. I'm important in my work, in my profession. They need me there. You're like, what is going on with you? I remember having all of those conversations, and I heard this voice said that, I wanted you to listen. And I thought, damn, you mean like I am that hard headed that I have to be knocked off of a four wheeler to shake my brain in order for me to listen? Because I heard God say, I heard a voice say, I wanted you to listen. Like, I was thinking to myself, how hard headed am I?
Oh my goodness, Deb, how many times that your story
Wow.
resonates with so many. You either have this experience one or two ways. You are reflective or reflective. That's
Hmm.
how you learn, or you are having an experience. And that experience often takes us exactly where that inner reflection is happening for us to even listen. I remember in 1999, I was the same way. I felt like I'm at the top of my game. We started talking about my story at the beginning of this Job, and you can just overlap Job with your story, my story, and so many others. That have these Job like experiences where they have had to quieten their life during, after, or whatever it was during this whole transition of going through something. I was homeless for 32 days here recently. That
Hmm.
was a horrible situation to have to go through, but I
Mhm.
had some Job like lessons
Mhm.
in there. I was able to really hone in and close my world down so that I can hear the voice of God internally inside of me and not listen to a bunch of Eliphaz, Biladads, and anyone else. I had to open my spirit up to my own Elihu. And Elihu took me into my internal voice where I could hear God say, "This is the way you go. This is what you need to do. This is how you're going to feel." And that was a conversation about me with me, no one else,
Mhm.
no one else. And that's exactly what God did for you, or your internal voice, or your higher power or your creator did for you during that horrible situation. I remember how that was for you. Uh,
It
it
was,
just
yeah. It changed my life, but I can look back on it and see how it was necessary for that accident to happen because again, we evolve and expand from the experiences that happen in our lives. If we are
mhm,
going to go on and we're not going to look at every situation as oh so bad. I grew from that situation, but I do remember having that conversation, like going like asking God, and so yes, we all can uh think about our Job moments, or we can
yes,
identify with Job and identify with his friends. I wonder, I wanted to pose a question to the audience because it seems like after the friends and after all of these internal conversations that you're having with yourself, you have to be still. You have to be quiet. And sometimes being quiet is just not comfortable for a lot of people. Sometimes you can sit around someone and, be quiet, and sometimes that makes them feel comfortable, like, they want to know what you're thinking. And so, and I wanted to ask the audience about how have they had those moments um where they had to be quiet? How comfortable
mhm,
was that? When how comfortable is it for you to sit in silence and listen for the answers from God or from your higher self, which is
yeah,
God, the God
which is
within
God,
you.
which is God.
Mhm.
And in those moments, they really can feel a little uneasy for us. And quiet for everybody, I feel is different.
Mm.
You know, um, this is why I say that. My daughter, one of my daughters, she is in her quietest when things around her when she's studying. She has some soft music going, and the television has to be on a certain, you know, level. And she's good with her quiet. That is not how I do quiet. I have to quiet everything down. I have to
Mhm.
really sit with myself. But
Yeah.
we both come to the same realization. She comes to her answer, I come to my answer. I feel that when we box quiet in to make it feel like we have to shut up, that we can't question, that we can't ruminate over what we're feeling. We then also offer another box to be boxed into. Quiet
Mhm.
feels different for everybody. Freedom truly does feel different for everyone differently. It's my freedom doesn't feel like your freedom, and that's okay. It really is. You're going to get to where you need to go because your soul is set up to win no matter what. This is just a fixed fight. It's
Mm.
a school of experiencing. God is having an experience through you, as you, with you. There's not one time that you are here by yourself. The whole story of Job, even at the end when he's having this God conversation, God is trying to tell Job, that you was never in this by yourself. You've always been connected to me.
Yeah.
And because you are connected to me, you are going to win no matter what.
No matter what. This is the point. This is the point to drive home here, uh, family, that you are set up to win. Don't
No
even
matter
let the
what.
circumstances fool you. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. You are set up to win. I know that circumstances may say something different, like the bank account may say something different, the job may say something different, your marriage, your relationship may say
Right.
something different. However, we are set up, you are set up to win. So the fight
Right.
is fixed, it's already fixed, so you don't even need to battle with it. And that has been such a great revelation for me. Like, yeah, I don't have to fight about anything. I don't have to, yeah, I don't have to do anything.
No.
Just
Right.
allow.
Allow. And you know what I like to say for allowing, because allowing feels very like the feminine energy of of us. Just welcome your answers. Welcome your internal guides to guide you into where you need to be. Welcoming, that's accepting. Just welcome it. Open up your heart chakra. Open up your um, your internal voice and welcome it. I hear you. I'm listening. And man, when you begin to do that, downloads just come. You really start to cook on all 12 cylinders when you begin to welcome your answers as welcome energy for you to learn from.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's important also for people, whenever you are allowing whatever the answers and the information, the wisdom to come through, you really have to trust yourself. And this takes practice in terms of trusting yourself, because and trusting your own voice, your
Hmm.
internal voice, that voice of the higher self, not the ego. Because they can the ego can make you think that is something good, right? So just pay attention to your higher self and trust yourself when these answers and the wisdom does come through. I stopped questioning it. I was
Hmm.
questioning it. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like Job, like, whoa, 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 whoa here. I just feel him so much, but we
Yeah,
just
I
don't
was
need to
Joe.
question. We need to pay attention to um our higher self, and trust ourselves too, and go with the information and go with the wisdom. And we have to examine our expectations, like when we're asking for answers and we're talking to God, what are we expecting God to say? Most of the time we're expecting things to turn out in the way that we think that they should be,
Hmm.
right? This is the way that I imagine the end of this would be like. So that's kind of what, the space that we come from whenever we're asking God. It's based on what we want. It's not going to always be like that. It's always about your highest good, the answers. You may not be able to see it. And that's why your soul is in control. Your soul is in
It's in
control.
control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trust your soul. Your
Trust
soul know what
your
it came
soul.
here to do. I like
Absolutely.
that.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Your soul know what it came here to do. Just follow your soul. And
Absolutely.
but how can people, even follow their soul? What about people who say, "Oh, you know what? I mean, me and God are separate. I'm not God. How could God be me?" What would you say to someone that says that? How could God? Because people say that to me. Yeah, God is not me. God is not me at all. And also another viewer said to me, "Listen, lady, God is not a woman." I mean, and I can feel his energy, on the like, God is not a woman. And so,
Well,
what
you
would
know
you
what?
say to people like that?
To that gentleman who said that, you're right. God is not a woman. God is energy, masculine and feminine. He is the all that is, or that energy is the all that is. So no, it's not a female, as we would know a female to do, or to be. But it is. God has everything in him. How could he create the tree if he didn't have a tree in him? How could he create a man if he didn't have a man in him? How could he create a woman if he didn't have a woman in him? It's that's oversynthesizing the truth, and that's fine. You can be wherever you are. And for the person that says God is externally on the outside, then It's okay if that's what you feel. I would encourage them to read their own Bibles, to understand that the God of the Bible is the God that's internally inside of you, and your Bible, even your own Bible, if teaches you that. There's so many other books because not just the Bible, there are other religions that teach internal um, internal reflection, or what's the word? Help me out, Deb.
What?
And
Conflicts?
well, they teach you to go inward instead of looking externally. So more
Yeah.
esoterically in the way that they teach their ancient wisdoms out here. So it's not that we have a lack of knowledge. We have a lot of knowledge that points us internally inside of us. But some people just have so much dissidence and
Maybe
that
you're saying we need to be more introspective?
introspective. Thank you. Love that. Yes. And we have many teachers out here, many, even your own Christianity, teaches us to go inward. Where we have gotten the disconnect from is how it was introduced to us, and for what reasons it's been introduced to us as being uh, an external truth. That was for more control.
Yeah.
That really was for more control. Less control you have of yourself, the more control I have of you. But that's not where we are now. Where we are now is that there's a shift, there's an energy shift. And this energy
Mhm.
shift is making all of us go inside.
Yes,
Um,
it's happening.
it's just happening.
It's happening around. I can just see it. I can see it in people. Like if you're looking on social media, if I'm looking at the news, if I'm just having random conversations with people at the car wash or whatever, people are going inside internally.
Yeah,
People are thinking about like their existence here and things that matter. I think people don't want the old paradigm anymore. This is what I'm getting from people.
there is
People
a
want to
shift in
shift.
paradigm. There is definitely a shift in paradigm. People are uh, wanting to, I don't know about other people, but for me, what I want to do is to establish my strength internally so that I can always hear my voice that's telling me what I need to do for Devette, not for anyone else, but for me, Devette, and that really does make a difference because if I can't fix myself, there's no way I can help anyone else. I am the first person that I'm going to fix. I'm not
Mhm,
looking for another project outside of Tibet. And
mhm.
there are many of us out here that's doing this work internally, this light work internally, because that does help the collective. Once we fix ourselves, the collective starts to shape up differently. We start to experience things differently. It is all in the words that you use. It is all in the thoughts that you feel about yourself. And remember, the only thing that's going to manifest is what gets the most attention. If it's 50-50, and that 1% leans over toward negative, and that's what you believe about yourself, then that is exactly what you're going to continue to create for yourself.
And you cannot blame anyone for that. You cannot.
No,
We are in control of our thoughts. We have more power and more control than we have been taught that we have. And we have shifted, we do look outside of ourselves externally. I don't know that just messages have been sent to always look outside of yourself. That is to go to the doctor, go to the therapist, always to go outside of yourself. I was on a podcast yesterday, and that was that was the part of the conversation. Like, when did I shift from needing a therapist to just needing myself
I,
internally? Because there was a big shift. And uh yeah, Miss Althea was asking me about that because I'm
I
like,
love
I've
that.
been in
I
therapy
love
for a
that
long
question.
time. So when do you when do you shift? It's like mental health versus a spiritual awakening. It do you is it really mental health? It to so it's not that I want to discount mental health. Of course, that's been my profession and it still is. I respect therapy. I do.
Mhm.
But even for me at some point, that just didn't work for me anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to therapy and I still want to kill myself. So that wasn't working for me anymore. And so the question is, when did that shift take place
Yeah.
that I stopped? And I said, or what happened when I said to myself, like, this is it. And I think my psychiatrist said, girl, you got this. You don't even need to come no more. You got this. I just did not trust myself. I had no faith that I had it and that I could stand on my own 2 feet and that I could not listen to all of the friends that were in my head, and believe what those friends were saying to me. I
Yes.
didn't trust myself. It is not until you actually start to do the work that you make a shift from seeing internally and the power internally instead of externally.
Absolutely. It is the moment that you make the shift to internal cleaning up of that energy, then you get your footing. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to all those small things, and those small things uh, they grab momentum, and then they become bigger things, and you begin to trust yourself even more and even more. If you can just learn to trust. Listen, I remember when I started, and it was years ago, just listening to my inner voice on which way to go home from work.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
small little things like that. Uh,
Mhm.
Listening to myself, listening to my body. What do we want to eat? Or what do we want to feed our minds, today? I it's smart 'cause it started with the smallest of things. And those small things really did gain momentum. And I began to trust myself even more on bigger situations. I love the Bible when it says to forsake not your confidence, for it has a great recompense of reward. That's exactly what that means. That when you can hear and trust your own voice, the reward is so much greater than you trusting someone else. Because when you trust someone else and you try to use their information for your growth, not that we don't use uh, others' information, because all information is just recycled information, but customizing it to fit you, to fit your experience.
Yeah.
That's when you begin to trust your own voice. Because this friend said this isn't what I believe about myself. Thank you for letting me see this, and this is not what I'm going to take from you. This friend says this is more in aligned with what I believe about myself. Okay. And then you can start to trust yourself. Trusting yourself is the biggest, I think, hang up in most religions. That's why we go to places to hear other people tell us about ourselves and our problems.
Yes, yes. Well, Shannon just said um this is a powerful discussion. I love that this is being discussed. So powerful. Do the work. Yes.
Do the
It's
work. Yes.
Yeah, you got to do the work. It's no way that things are going to change. It didn't start. I mean, but I I have to be honest with myself now, because one of the reflection questions that I had from my guides this morning was that I needed to focus more on how far I've come.
Mm,
And I need to focus on all of the decisions that I made in spite of the hardships and the challenges. I'm talking about way back, you see? Yeah, it didn't just, these challenges didn't start just now. So I was guided to reflect more on how far you've come
mm,
instead of like maybe how far I have to go, but to acknowledge that. It's it's like being your own cheerleader, acknowledging where you have come from, and you have made great strides. We just don't give ourselves enough credit. And let me tell you, once I found out that we chose to be here,
Mhm.
that me as a spirit, not this body or mind that you see, but the spirit of me chose to come here to earth. Once I found that out, I'm like, okay, well, it's impossible for me to, and I believe that. I do. It is not like something that I just learn.
Mhm.
The more I hear it, the more I understand it. It resonates with my soul. So it really takes me out of like I can't blame anyone. And just by the fact that I even chose to come to Earth, hold on, let me do something. Let me show something right there.
Just because I showed up. Absolutely.
Because I
Absolutely.
showed up here. I chose to be here at this time. You chose to be here at this time. And Earth is not like, woo, Earth is taking you for loops and stuff, you know? So it can be challenging here, although very rewarding. It can still be challenging. You can lose heart. So the fact that you are here on Earth, you should celebrate yourself. I mean
You
it.
should
Celebrate
celebrate
yourself.
yourself. And, Deb, to your point, going back and being reflective on how much you have accomplished opposed to how much you have to accomplish, looking at it from the Thanksgiving, the I'm so grateful, compassionate statements towards yourself really does reward the 33-year-old Deborah or whatever age she was when she
Yeah.
had to make those hard decisions. I often say this, and I say this to my kids all the time. You know, I go back and I appreciate that 15-year-old in 1985
Yeah.
or whatever that I was. And I appreciate her for staying 365 days, making every choice that she made. I thank her for them. I thank her because she made those choices, I get to be here. I get to experience the fruit of her labor. So
Yeah.
how how can I discount them or discredit them? My 8-year-old Devette stayed here, involved. My
Hmm.
13-year-old, my 22-year-old, my 30-year-old. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you. So you're right, going inward and giving yourself that compassion, going inward and giving yourself the love that you need to say thank you for showing up every day that you woke up. Because I remember 15 and it may not have been easy, but you got up every day and you forced yourself or however you got through it. Thank you.
Yes, yes, I say that to me because I did not kill myself. I'm telling you, and I am so grateful for that. I really am because it was just moments that it was like, man, right there. And I know it's people out there that's listening. It's like, it's been moments where I'm like, I want to check out of here. It's just too much going on. It has to be a better place. So I wanted to give a shout out to my sisters here. That's Crystal Gypsy, and that is Roots and Wave. I just left Roots and Waves, and I'm sorry that I could not stay for the reading, but look at her up and follow her channel. Also, Crystal Gypsy, follow her channel as well. And thank you, sisters, for coming on my stream. Um, well, this has been a great conversation. We normally don't even go this long, but I thought, let me just I'm going to let things, unfold the way they unfold. But what are you going to be talking about next week? Like what are we doing? Cuz Job has already had his God conversation, but yeah, we're going to be talking about how God restored Job.
We can touch on that. We definitely are
That's
going
a
to
good part. Yeah, that's
that
important.
a good part to that he didn't leave him without anything. He did give him back his stuff.
So we need to. This is a important part. I don't want to leave this part out because I was going through the Bible and I'm like, wait a minute. So everybody's speaking to Job. All his friends that came in. All right, Elihu, Yehu, or whoever he
Elihu,
has been. Yes, he's
he
been
takes him
speaking,
into the door and he
and
says,
then
listen,
yes, and so I wanted to get to the part where God restored Job. And that's what it says. God restores Job. I will accept his prayer. And that's important to me as well, because it doesn't matter what's going on inside of our hearts, inside of our minds, what you believe to be true. Change that. But you are set up to win, and everything is going to be restored to you. Don't think that, but don't think that it will not be. And you have the power to restore your own self, your own mind. You
Mhm.
have the power to bring restoration to yourself,
Mhm.
be a
Mhm.
co-creator with God, divine
Absolutely.
intelligence with source, and you can participate in restoration, all around you, in and through you. I did not want to leave out Job being restored. This is an important part after all that he has gone through.
Yeah, and he went through a lot. Yes, I think we should go over his restoration. You know,
I like restoration.
w- we all get restoration in some parts of our lives. It doesn't stay bad. It just doesn't. It's just not even meant to
Stay bad.
stay bad. You
Because you
know.
know why, and I'm going to make this point too, probably throughout this series, but it would be insane for God to send itself here to fail. That's mental health issues to me. This is some
Absolutely.
delusional, disconnected, yeah, thing that God would send itself here, set up all of this for everyone, for itself to fail. And I
I
just
say this
believe that
bit.
God is more intelligent than that. It is the divine intelligence. So
Yes.
why would, yeah, like, why would you do that?
I have often said God is not trying to hurt himself. Not
Yes,
through
God
my
is not
experience. He's
suicidal.
not trying to hurt himself. I'm experiencing this, and God is with me as I experience this. God in me is experiencing this. There's no way we're going to l- be left out here to die and fend for ourselves. That's just not how our soul works. That's not
I'm
how the
cool
earth
with
realm
that.
works. And thank God it doesn't. Because who wants to get up every day and just get beaten up every day? Every
Every day.
day.
Yeah. So it's good. It's time for us to change this internal, conversation that we're having with ourselves. This is the message that we have today. Change your internal conversation. And
Clear up your
so,
words. Clear up
yes,
your words. Because when Job's words became clearer, Job's life became clearer. And that's where the
clear up
restoration really
your
happened.
words.
Clear up your
Oh,
words. Those
yes.
words really, really shape your reality. And understanding how to communicate with your divine self. That's the
Mm.
whole next week. How are we gonna
Oh,
you gotta
good.
understand how your language sounds. Your
Yes,
language doesn't sound
yes.
like Joe. I don't know this Joe. I know that.
Mm. How your language sound. That good. That's important. How to talk to yourself and how to speak out loud, how to speak to your ancestors and all of those things. So good. We're going to be having a conversation about that. Well, I am thankful that you showed up here today, and I appreciate everyone. Yes, God is in us. We are God. You are God. I
God
love
and me.
that. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. I hope that this conversation stirred up something in your soul and brought you closer to just realizing that, brought you closer to your higher self and realizing how important you are and how internal this whole experience, on earth, this whole earth experience is. It's all about us. And what we see in our reality is a reflection of what we believe and what we think and what we pay attention to. So know that. Listen, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Share this amazing channel too with someone that you love. We appreciate you, and we will be here same time, same place next Sunday. I have the live all down packed now, so don't worry. And listen, we will see you again next time. Stay until we see you again. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and stay connected
Stay
to your
connected.
truth. Anything else you want to say to everyone before we leave?
No, listen, you got this. Go have a great week. Clear your words up. God
Peace
is
and
with
love.
you. Love you.
Yes.